Today on Dylan Talks Tone, we're going to talk about Gibson again. No, really, it's good this time. I promise it's good. How's it going? My name is Dylan, and this is Dylan Talks Tone. On this channel, we talk all about guitar tone, guitar tech, guitar stuff. We have over 400 videos all about this stuff. And today we're going to get a little editorial, but I think it's really important because it affects how we look at the guitar industry and how the guitar industry is going, or how we perceive it to be going in 2018. In November of 2018, Gibson is going to emerge from bankruptcy. And this means they had to do a whole bunch of restructuring. And in that time, they got rid of their former CEO, Henry Juskowitz. So he's out. And nobody liked that guy. And for some reason, because nobody liked that guy, everybody's been hating on Gibson for the last 4 or 5 years, which is really weird to me, because Gibson is one of the most iconic brands in all of American history. It's been around for so long. This leads us to what happened recently, just in the last week or so. They hired a guy who I think is the result of Ron Jeremy, the porn star, and Nicolas Cage having a baby. And his name is James Curleigh, I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but he, up to this point, has been the CEO of Levi Strauss, which is another iconic American company for the last 100 years. Everybody knows who Levi's is. Before that, he worked with newer companies called Keen. He worked with Solomon Skis. He worked with TaylorMade. And what he's done all along the way through his career has taken an established brand, held on to the history that that brand represents, and then also add to it a new audience. And this is why we want to talk about this today. Because I think there's a few things that Mr. Curleigh is not going to do. I know you're jumping through the internet right now saying they need to make higher quality instruments, better quality control, they need to lower prices, and they need to get rid of robo-tuners. I think they're going to do one of those three things, and you're just going to have to deal with it. And here's why. Let's just get the quality control thing out of the way. A new CEO is going to come in, he's going to look at processes. They've actually hired a whole team of management. They're going to look at processes, they're going to get rid of any issues, they're going to streamline stuff. Chances are manufacturing processes are going to change, locations are going to, it's just going to happen. It's going to get streamlined, things are going to get better. Every new kind of takeover of a company, that stuff happens. So let's not even worry about quality, okay? So you can blow it up all you want in the comments, but quality is probably going to improve as a result of this. We just know that. The second thing, prices. They're not going to lower prices. They're not going to. That is my guess. We'll see in a year. You can come back on this video and comment on it in a year if they lowered prices, but they don't need to lower prices. Here's why. Gibson is a heritage brand. It's 100 years old. Levi Strauss does not have cheaper jeans now than it did 100 years ago. That brand is very established. And what Mr. Curleigh has a history of doing is capturing that vintage heritage brand and then making sure that the customers who've been buying it the whole time continue to buy it, and then reaching out to new audiences. And this is key. Reaching out to new audiences is what he's going to do. So things like robo-tuners and brass nuts and actual change and technology and dip switches and all that sort of stuff, it's probably not going to go anywhere, because there's different audiences for different things. There's the heritage audience who's been there for 100 years or however long Gibson's been around, and then there is new kids who are learning to play guitar now. And you're going to say, well, that goes back to prices because nobody can afford a Gibson. That's what Epiphone is for. So here's the deal. Just because you can't or don't want to spend the money on a $3,000 Gibson doesn't mean that there is not an audience for that. All of us fall within a particular demographic or range or economic, all that stuff. You look at anything on any website and it'll tell you this is how old your viewers are, this is how much money they make, this is where they live, all that sort of stuff. That means that there is a different group of people for each person that purchases the type of guitar. So you have younger people who need to be captured, and here's why. These younger people who can afford Epiphones and lower priced guitars are the next generation of guitar players. The people that cannot afford and then there are people that can afford the $3,000 Gibsons, and they're the ones that have been around for 100 years. James Curleigh says that he's going to make sure that he retains those people while expanding the audience of the younger and newer players that aren't familiar with the brand. So two things are going to happen. The old stuff is going to stay the way it is, but there's also going to be new stuff, and you're going to have to deal with it because that's the way it is. That's the way the guitar industry doesn't die. The guitar industry doesn't die because everybody thinks it's dying for some reason, but it's not. Those people that have been playing for a long time who can afford expensive guitars are over here. And the people that cannot afford expensive guitars are over here, and they're two completely different audiences, and a smart brand and a guy like James Curleigh, even though he might not know how to dress every day, his choices can be questionable, he does know how to capture both audiences and make everybody happy. That's what he's been doing for brands for a long time. That's why I'm really excited about this new CEO at Gibson. So let's do this. Get in the comments below, and we don't need to talk about quality control. We don't need to talk about robo-tuners, and we do not need to talk about how much Gibsons cost, okay? Let's just get that out of there. We don't need to talk about that. What we want to talk about, and I'm very curious to hear from you, is what sort of guitar player are you? What is your age group? What demographic do you fall into? And what is the guitar that you currently play and the amp that you currently play, and what is the stuff that you aspire to play? Like, that you're saving up for, that you're interested in the near future, that you want to play. Because that's what's really important. Having these conversations and encouraging each other to play the instrument, and encouraging people that don't play, like our nieces and nephews and young sons and daughters and young people that are going to be the next generation of guitar players. How do we encourage them to play? Because it has nothing to do with quality control, price, or robo-tuners. It has to do with what we put in the comments on videos on YouTube. I'd like to hear from you. My name is Dylan. This is Dylan Talks Tone. If you have any questions about guitar tone, guitar tech, about what's going on in the industry, any of this kind of stuff, put it in the comments below, and I'll make a video just for you. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. In the next couple days, we're going to get back to our normally scheduled programming about guitar tech and wiring and all that sort of stuff. And so make sure that you hit that subscribe button and the little bell next to it, and that way you know the next time we make a cool video just like this one.